show you right now. Now, some of these things you need to know by hand. You need to know how to find your mean by hand. You need to know how to find your median by hand. Okay, and we are going to spend some time on that or talk about it. But for right now, I just want to show you how to do a few things in the calculator. So I have this data in my calculator. If you want, you have a graphing calculator, I would pause this, enter these numbers in, then you're ready to go. Okay, so I want to show you how to find some of these things. So on your calculator, if you hit Stat, if you remember, this Stat button is very handy. Okay, that's where we're going to use a lot of our stuff. Then I want to go over to Calculate. When that happens, one variable statistic is coming up. So I'm going to press Enter. I want one variable statistic for L1. For this right now, my frequency should be blank, and then I'm going to hit Calculate. Okay, so this is giving us a lot of information. Okay, so the X bar right there, that's my sample mean. So where it says mean, I can write in 51.9. And right next to that, I'm just going to go ahead and put that that's my X bar. Okay, now we're going to kind of go out of order because I have two different standard deviations. But generally you're going to use this S, this sample standard deviation. So right there, I'm going to make that 19.6. Okay, so that's my S of X, that's my sample standard deviation. Now, to get the rest of this information, okay, you can see on your calculator there's a lot of other stuff. This says the sum of X squared. This is my standard deviation, that's a sample. My standard deviation, that's population. There's 20 numbers in my data set, but if I scroll down, you can see there's my 5-number summary. My minimum, my first quartile, my median, my third quartile, and my maximum. So I'm going to take these numbers and I'm just going to fill them in where they go. So my median is 53. Okay, my range is going to be 97 minus 13 because that was my min and my max. Okay, so 97 minus 13, that should give me 84. My Q1, again, I'm just taking these numbers right here from this calculator, 37.5. My Q3 is 63.5. Okay, it asks for the interquartile range, so I need to subtract those two, so 63.5 minus 37.5. I'm going to subtract those two. Now notice for your range, you got a single number, and for your IQR, again, you want a single number. So I'm actually subtracting those numbers, and my IQR is 26. Okay, so they want the 5-number summary. So I've already listed them, but it's just an idea of knowing what those things are. So I've got my median, my Q1, my Q3, my minimum is 37.5, and 63.5. So again, here's my median, Q1, Q3, min, and max. Okay, so then the last thing we need to look at right here is just making a histogram and commenting on the shape. Now I'm just going to do a sketch of this. This would not be how I want a histogram if you were doing a free response question. So our data is in the calculator. I'm just going to go to second, y equals for the stat plot. Make sure histogram is chosen. And I'm going to hit zoom 9. Okay, so I'm just going to do a nice little sketch of the graph right here. I'm not worried about numbers. Okay, and there's a little gap. Now, here's the thing. We're looking at this and we need to decide what is the best representation. Okay, so is it better to have the mean or better to have the median? So we're going to go through and we need to decide. Remember, we're going to use the mean and the standard deviation if there's outliers present, and then we're going to use the IQR and standard deviation if there are not outliers. So think about that, and then which one's going to be better. So looking at this data, you can kind of see it's got a little gap there that is called a gap. But what I need to decide is, are there actually outliers? Okay. Now, you see how this is kind of balanced still, even though there's gap? So there's probably, this isn't really skewed, even though there's gap. So probably your middle is going to kind of still be in there. So with this one, I'm probably going to go with the mean. So I'm going to go with the mean and the standard deviation. Because there are no outliers evident. Now, we will have another lesson on how to calculate the outliers, so you can be sure. But this is the end of our video. Now,